so okay, formal na tayo because this is going live na on my Facebook now. So I can't be yeah, not my Facebook, my YouTube channel. But anyway, our discussion for today is virology. All right, this was prepared by moi, of course, and this has been going on since 2008. Yes, when I was still a student, I prepared this. This lecture actually started as a report, and now it became how many pages? 551. So I don't think we will be able to finish all of them today, but since we have next week's lecture, don't worry about it. All right, ready na tayo, guys? You guys have copies of it? I've sent it to Sir Marco. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. Just go along with the lecture and try to answer as much as you can without trying to look at the slides or trying to just try to challenge yourself either way. All right, so we're going to talk about general characteristics first. What are the general characteristics of viruses? Basically, they are not capable of reproducing by themselves. They lack energy, and they are never both DNA or RNA. They don't have RNA. If they are DNA viruses, they can never be an RNA. There can never be an RNA in the genome. All right. So and they have a general, the simplest structure among all the microorganisms that we will discuss in this particular lecture. Please inform me if the time is finished because I will have to exit. I will have to exit and close the lecture for now. But for now, let's continue. All right. So those are the characteristics. Number one, they lack energy. Number two, they are the simplest ones because they're only composed of a capsid in the nuclear material. All right. Number three, their genetic material is just RNA or DNA and never both. Okay. And they can replicate by hijacking the host cell. They can never reproduce by themselves. And that's the reason why they are known as just infectious particles. Actually, um, a lot of scientists are still arguing whether or not they are living things because based on the seven characteristics of a living organism, it the family of viruses or the kingdom of viruses is actually not compatible with something that is living since they're not capable of replicating by themselves and they lack metabolism or they lack the organelles for metabolism. So they're still arguing about it. Unfortunately, right now they still don't have a definitive answer. So let's move on with the viral structure. A virus is composed of two structures. As I mentioned before, this is the the nuclear material or the nucleic acid genome, and the capsid. And this is collectively known as the nucleocapsid. All right, no, this is collectively known as the nucleocapsid. So the capsid is composed of a protein coat, and the nucleic acid genome is the genetic material that the virus needs for it to replicate. All right. Remember the last bullet in the previous question is it's capable of hijacking the host cells. What it does is basically it injects itself, and the the replication method is dependent on the virus or what particular virus that in question. So we're going to see what happens later on once we discuss the specific species or when we discuss the specific virus families later in the discussion. All right. Collectively, the whole viral structure is known as the virion. All right. This is also known as the viral particle. All right. So you guys don't. So you guys will not be confused. I always start with the general terms so that students will not consider the consequent discussions as jargon. All right. Virion and viral particle, same like earlier in our discussion. Mycelium. Mycelium is a combination of all the hyphal structures. So in this case, the viral the whole viral molecule or the viral particle is known as your virion. All right. What shape does viral capsids assemble into? That is a question that I will ask the students because a lot of people are still unfamiliar with this. Because later on, it's important for you guys to remember. All right. Okay. So who in the class knows what shapes, or should I say biochemical orientations, does viruses appear in nature? Do viruses appear in nature? Sorry, I have to correct myself there. What are the shapes? Anybody? Uh-huh. One from both of you, Francis and Anna. Francis first.
The first one, sir, is icosahedral.
All right. Okay. What about Anna?
The second one, sir, is the helical shape.
All right. Wonderful, guys. So at least people are still not sleepy during the discussion. So these are the shapes: icosahedral and the helical shape. All right. So this is what it looks like. The other one is just the drawing there, the caricature there is just a comic strip that I borrowed from, I think, Pathology Notes, but it's also a free one. It's also a free image, so I don't take copy. I don't think I would be copyrighted for that one. All right, what is the term for the individual subunits of the viral capsid? This is known as a capsomere. All right, these capsomere subunits will assemble to give rise to the shape of the virus. So here, we'll go back to this one. Each ball over there that you will see is a capsid. All right, that's the viral capsid. And the whole shape there is the cap, and the whole unit over there, the whole helical shape over there is the capsomere. All right, these subunits will give shape to the virus. It will then dictate whether or not the shape will be icosahedral or it is helical in shape. All right. The lipid layer of the virus that covers the nucleic acid is known as what? A lot of people are capable of. A lot of people know this, especially those who grew up in the 90s, because we don't have the internet then. The answer is what? It starts with the letter E. Game show ulit tayo. Game show mode ulit tayo. So what's the answer? The lipid layer that covers them. And the people no longer send this. Who can answer? Chat? Anybody in the chat? Anybody? Adrian? All right, Adrian, you just raised your hand. What is the lipid layer? Adrian, are you on
Viral
the line?
envelope po.
What?
Envelope.
All right, wonderful. Thank
Envelope
you.
po.
Thank you.
Envelope.
Paulit-ulit, Angie. Charing lang, char. Char lang, char lang. Envelope, that's correct. All right. The DNA can have what type of nucleic acid genome? It could be a DNA genome or an RNA genome. They're actually one of the easiest organisms to identify because they are very short-stranded. Okay, so there are three types of RNA viruses. Okay, guys. So please be mindful of this one. I want you guys to put a star on this slide, or put a star put a star on number 16, because this one is one of the bulk of the questions that may be asked in your board exam. And I think 50% of the time they will ask this as a virology question in your board exam or whatever. One could be a positive stranded RNA virus. One could be a negative stranded RNA virus, and the virus can also be a retrovirus. We'll discuss each later on. But a positive stranded RNA virus is something that will bind to the RNA and immediately become translated. All right. A negative stranded RNA virus requires transcription before it can replicate its copies. All right. So, and then retroviruses, on the other hand, will need to be converted by reverse transcriptase to form a DNA molecule, and then the virus can then replicate. So those are the differences between these three types of viruses. All right, so RNA viruses. Okay, so what are the enzymes required by viruses for replication? Well, you have to have RNA-dependent RNA polymerase and, of course, your RNA reverse transcriptase. Okay, so what do you mean by polymerase? What do we what do Who requires this one? or which viruses requires this one? It's the negative stranded RNA virus for RNA dependent RNA polymerase. I know it's a long name, but guys, you have to remember this because this is basically your foundations to molecular diagnostics, which is a class that is, I don't know, being provided. I'm not sure if it's being provided there in the Philippines, but right now all over the world, some schools who teach laboratory medicine or clinical laboratory science are starting to adapt this particular subject, and these are your foundations, guys. So it may not be useful for you when you take the board exam, but at the height of your career, probably in 5 years time, if you pass the board exam or you become physicians, should you take the leap to become a physician, these things will be important for you, especially in molecular diagnostics. All right. So in terms of positive or negative strands, what is the difference between DNA viruses and RNA viruses? Well, they have a couple of differences, and I will give you an example. Positive stranded DNA viruses serve as a template for mRNA transcription. So what happens is when the viral genome is introduced into the cytoplasm or the nuclear material of the host cell, it will be spliced. That's the term. It will be spliced to the mRNA immediately after translation. While negative stranded DNA requires a partner. Okay, it requires a partner, and the remaining strands will be then known as your ignored strand. Okay, cytogenetics, I know, but this is important, specifically if you will focus on if the discussion will revolve if the discussion will revolve around virology. I know it's difficult to understand. I need to have at least an hour to discuss about the molecular biology of RNA transcription. But all you need to know is that but the positive strand of DNA viruses serve as a template for RNA transcription, while a negative strand is a partner for the positive strand for transcription. All right. So let's talk about the examples of DNA viruses. There are a lot, but these are the most common ones that will be asked in your board exam. Mnemonic, happy. O, di ba? Napaka-bait ko. Binigyan ko kayo ng mnemonic. Happy. Herpes via virus, virus, adenovirus, polyomavirus, papillomavirus, parvovirus, and the pox virus. This is the reason why when I was a student, I hated virology. There's a lot of mnemonics to remember, so I had to search around the internet just to just to be able to answer such questions. So this is for you guys. Happy. What do you mean by happy, sir? Ano nga yon? H-H-A. Dalawang H muna. Ha-ha-happy pala. Oh, okay? So please don't forget happy. So without looking at it, I say happy. Herpes, hepadna, adeno, polyoma, papilloma, parvo, and pox virus. See? Easy. DNA viruses. Okay? Hopefully you guys can remember that one. Now, another reason why I hated studying virology is because I need to remember which of those DNA viruses are enveloped. Luckily for you guys, I created a mnemonic for you. Hehe po. Oh, what's hehe po? Oh, without looking at your notes, what is hehe po?
Herpes virus,
Uh-huh.
hepatnavirus,
Uh-huh. Ano na ang po? Pox virus. Tama ba? Double check ko. Baka
pox,
nagkamali din ako. Pox virus. Yes. Alright? Sorry. Baka nagkamali din ako. Char lang. Tama pa rin naman pala tayo. Naked naman tayo. Naked viruses. Now, I know it will sound vulgar, guys, but this is the most, the funniest mnemonic that I've gotten from the internet. A woman must be naked in a pap smear. O, di ba? Naked DNA viruses. What do you mean by naked, by the way, guys? Naked is a term used by scientists. I know they're funny people. Naked is used by scientists or virologists who study the viral envelope. This is a term coined for a virus or for a group of viruses that don't have a viral envelope. Yeah. And the mnemonic is PAP. Oh, di ba? What's PAP? Oh, what's PAP? Without looking at your notes, can we try to answer this question? Let's try with Francis. PAP. Let's.
Papoviridaser.
Uh-huh.
The P in PAP is papoviridaser.
Uh-huh.
Ay,
Another. What about A?
papoviridaser.
What about A?
Um, Adenoviridaser.
And what about the other A? Oh, the other P.
Parvoviridaser.
Let's try and check if you're correct. All right. Wonderful. Diba? Easy, easy peasy, easy breezy, cover girl. Carrie, Carrie, maganda ang ano mga mnemonics, guys. I know I
Opo,
Yes, sir.
I know I hated this one
lupit
when I
po.
was a student, but a lot of people will a lot of people who have taken the exam thank thank me so much because I was able to condense it for them. Hopefully the scientists won't change anything and I don't have to reorganize my mnemonics. All right, all DNA viruses are double-stranded except for there's only one, and that is your parvovirus. All right, all of them are double-stranded. Okay, examples of envelope DNA viruses, that's the other ones. So hehe po again. All right, hehe po again. All right, herpes, hepadna, and pox virus or the poxviridae family. All right, you guys can still follow. I know I'm
Yes,
presenting a
sir.
lot of mnemonics, but I assure you these are questions that will arrive in your exams in the coming weeks or months or years from now. And I hope one day you can message me saying, Sir, oh my gosh, napaka ganda ng binigay mong mga mnemonics because naalala ko siya lahat. Char! Ganon. So which virus has the simplest structure? Which virus has the simplest structure? It is your parvovirus. Okay? What do you mean by simplest structure? Well, basically, it's unenveloped, it's naked, it's naked, and then it's single stranded, it's double stranded, and that's what makes it easy for scientists to understand. All right, which virus has the most complex structural composition? Aha, this one is difficult. Which virus has the most complex structural composition? And it actually comes in a box shape, which is your answer to bullet number 2. But which one is it? There's a lot of viruses that we've talked about earlier, and you need to remember pox virus. How do I remember this, sir? Well, box and pox sound the same. All right? Pox and box sound the same. So when they talk about the most complicated or the complex composition, structural composition, please don't forget about the pox virus. All right? Pox viruses include your chicken pox, of course, or your smallpox. Okay. Now let's move on to RNA viruses. Now the shape of the RNA viruses is another way to classify each species. And I will give you a mnemonic that I've just developed a couple of days ago whilst I was preparing for this lecture. Rheovirus, Tongavirus, Flavivirus, Picornavirus, Calcivirus, and Retrovirus. This is my mnemonic for you guys, and hopefully you guys will remember this one. Oh, why can't I add anything? I'm sorry. All right, I can't add anything. I can't touch it. What's wrong? I can't edit it. All right, I'll just type it on the chat. So there are three friends, Rio, Rio, Flavius, and and Pico. They will go to a party. They'll go to a party, a toga party, toga party, and they will take shots. And they will go to a retro sorry, they will go to a retro themed toga party. Okay? And in that party, they will drink Kalisi shots. All right? And in that party, they will drink Kalisi shots. So hopefully, you guys will remember it. All right? So there are three friends, Rio, Flavius, and Pico. All three of them will go to a retro themed toga party, and they will drink Kalisi shots. Okay? Do you guys follow? These are your icosahedral. These are your icosahedral molecules, or the ico shaped viruses. Is it important again? Yes, it appears in the exam. Which of the following is not icosahedral? Which of the following is icosahedral? All of the following except one is icosahedral. So guys, I'm helping you guys with mnemonics because I hated this part, and I hope you guys will not hate it because I didn't have a lot of mnemonics when I was studying. So hopefully you guys will remember this. And now let's move on to the RNA virus that is not double-stranded. That is the only RNA virus that is double-stranded. It is your reovirus. Okay? Which viruses are under the Picornaviridae family? There's a lot of them. Okay? Rhinovirus, your common sniffles virus, I suppose. Poliovirus, the causative agent of poliomyeloma, or poliomyelitis. Hepatitis A, enterovirus, and Coxsackie virus. All of these things have one thing in common. What do you think is the mode of transmission for all of these things? Enterovirus, Hepa A virus. What is the mode of transmission for all of these viruses? Can anybody answer in the chat? All right. Somebody raise your hand, unmute yourself, and tell me the answer. Unmute. Unmute
Yung
yourself.
respiratory droplets po.
Respiratory droplets. Oh, all right. Let's try again from another person. You can get hepatitis A from respiratory droplets. Noreen, all right, let's see.
Po ulit, fecal oral. I'm not
Wonderful.
sure.
Or ingestion. Thank you so much. Except for rhinovirus, all of them are acquired through ingestion, or can be acquired through ingestion. Now let's move on. Why is it relevant to know if a virus is an mRNA virus? Because when you study again molecular biology, mRNA viruses are the ones that replicate in the cytoplasm. And when you add chemicals that are probes to the genetic material, you need to know where the virus replicates. Okay? You need to know whether or not it replicates in the cytoplasm, or whether or not it splices its genetic material inside the nucleic space. All right. So in this case, mRNA viruses replicate in the cytoplasm. Why? Because the mRNA is the one that is considered as the one that will be the one to translate. mRNA will be then translated, and then after translation, it will be then become a protein. Hence, the replication occurs in the cytoplasm. All right, simple as that. I know it's difficult to follow because there's a lot of cytogenetics to be explained, and we will spend a lot of time explaining all of this. And my main purpose for you guys is to answer the questions in the board exam directly. All right, we'll try to leave the theories for some other person to give it to you guys. Now, what are the families involved in the Calliciviridae family? There's only two members, and these are the Norvalk virus and the Hepa E virus. All right, Hepa E virus. And I know, Francis, I only have 10 more minutes, but let me just try to finish everything.
Yes,
All
sir.
right? I know, Francis. We both have a psychic connection. I know, Francis.
So, di mo po naisip yun, sir?
When naisip mo yun, inunahan na lang kita. I vocalized it
Hindi,
for you. I vocalized it for
hindi
you.
pa naman po.
Mm-mm. I had the premonition earlier that Francis is going to say something about the time. What are the viruses under the Flaviviridae family? Oh, guys, napaka-easy nito. Flavi in Latin means blonde. Ah, Okay. So what F, sir? What WTF, sir? Ano naman, right? Flabby means blonde. So I have to look at blonde people to remember? No. You just remember that flabby means blonde, color blonde. The blonde color is yellow. Therefore, I would say the diseases associated with it is yellow fever and then the dengue virus. Is that correct? Of course. I was the one who made it for you guys. So yellow fever virus and the dengue fever virus. Please don't forget about this one. All right? O para hindi kayo mahirapan again, Juan Flavier is the one who initiated the um, the dengue. I think I think a DOH law mandating that there's supposed to be uh, an what do you call this funding for public hospitals to support dengue endemics in the Philippines. So, 'di ba? Ang dami na ninyong nakukuhang idea. So, hopefully you guys will remember this one because again, I hated this particular lecture when I was a student and I want you guys to love virology. All right? Next, two groups under the toga virus family. So we have the alpha and the rubella virus. Wala na akong maisip na ano, guys. I'm terribly sorry. Wala akong maisip. Paano ko ma-relate si rubella and alpha viruses? But hopefully, you will remember that when you wear a toga, just remember rubella and alpha. I don't know. Walang kakwenta-kwenta pero hopefully nag-stick sa inyo. All right. Now let's move on to this question. All of the icosahedral viruses are mRNA viruses except for, again, what are the six mRNA viruses that I was talking about earlier? Rio, the friends Rio and Pico plus Flavi went to a retro-themed party, right? Went to a retro-themed party, toga party, and they are drinking Khaleesi shots. All right? So, ano naman? The only mRNA viruses, all of them are mRNA viruses except for these two, Retroviridae and Caliciviridae family. And I know, Adrian, sasabihan mo na ako, sir, 6 minutes na lang. Continue tayo. Huwag kayong mag-alala pag,
Hello, sir.
Huwag kayong mag-alala. Next week, hindi ko kayo titigilan. Alright? hanggang maging bangungot nyo ako. Alright? I will be your nightmare. And I hope I will be a good nightmare. Alright. Which icosahedral RNA viruses are enveloped? My gosh, sir, kailangan kong alalahanin. Yes, bakit ko ilalagay dito kung hindi nyo kailangan maaalala? Alright? These are your envelope viruses. Falter. O, di ba? Falter. O, ginawan ko na kayo. Envelope. Falter. Naked. PCR. Oh, yan na ha. Icosahedral. Alright? So if you remember your viruses, if you remember the mnemonic earlier, you will be able to answer this and you just have a couple of things to remember when you're answering the questions. And I know, 5 minutes na lang, Ana Jamema. Don't worry. Alright? Helical RNA viruses. Oh my gosh, sir, sumasakit na ang ulo ko. 8 families of helical RNA viruses. This one, I have a mnemonic for you guys, but I think I don't have enough time. 5 minutes na lang kasi, and somebody is calling me for an ER request. So I will leave this discussion here. Slide number 54. All right, I have a mnemonic for you guys, but I will share it to you guys on the upcoming lecture. So I hope you guys have a nice week ahead, and this is the end of our lecture. All right, is that okay? Biglang
Yes, sir.
all right.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
Yes,
So
sir.
all the lectures will be repeated. You can replay all the lectures if you haven't followed me in the YouTube channel. You can just click on the MedTech, playlist. All right, MedTech playlist lang ha. Huwag nyo nang panuorin yung Genshin Impact ko. Hindi kayo makaka-relate. Hindi, alam ko si Renyo lang ang makaka-relate lang sa akin doon.
Sir, wag kang maingay. Yung Labyrinth Warriors nyo, sir, nakatenga dun, sir.
All right. So, yeah. So I hope to see you guys next week. We will be talking about bacteriology then, but we will continue this discussion until we will continue virology next week also. I hope if it's okay. Um, there will be a contest next week. Hopefully, you guys will be able to participate, and I expect you guys to have a nice weekend, and then a week ahead of you, a nice week ahead of you guys. Please study hard because the prices are extremely lucrative. Charing! Lucrative! Diba? And bye-bye na guys.
Pagkakakitaan.
Ha?
Sir, wait lang.
Thank you, sir.
Anesh!
Here. Have a good day.
Sir, isisend ko lang dito sa Google chat yung ano ko.
Ay,
Kaya na lang po.
taray talaga i-add talaga ni ni Reniel. O sige. I'm going to copy
Yes,
it right
sir.
now on my notepad. Taray, no? Sir Marco, nakahanap ako ng kalaro ko, no? Alright,
Ito
so...
din, Sir Mark, para pag gusto nyo din ako add, iniwan ko na UID ko.
Oh, taray, di ba? Alright, guys, have a nice day and thank you so much.
Thank you po, sir.
This is Manuel De
Thank
Leon
you, sir.
signing off.
Lahat.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Bye po, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you, sir.
Okay, so yung notes niya has been uploaded naman na, no?